Hello. In this lecture, we are going to talk about the most common type of modulation, which is the common chord modulation. Those are modulations using diatonic common chords. In this type of modulation, a common chord serves as a hinge or pivot linking the two tonalities. For those who don't know what a hinge is, this is a hinge and this is a pivot. The terms perfectly make sense because this point is exactly what a common chord does in a common chord modulation. In music language, let's say we are in B flat major and we want to modulate to F major. And this is what we call a common chord. This chord should belong both to B flat major and also to F major, and this is the linking point between two tonalities. It could be B flat major, for example, the first degree of B flat major, also the fourth degree of F major. It could be D minor, the third degree of B flat major, and the sixth degree of F major. It could be F major, the fifth degree of B flat major, and the tonic chord of F major. And it could be G minor, the sixth degree of B flat major, and the second degree of F major. In this table, we can more clearly see the chords that can be used as common chords in the modulation from B flat major to F major. Like I said, the first degree of B flat major is the fourth degree of F major. The chord is B flat major. And the third degree of B flat major, which is D minor, is also the sixth degree of F major, etc. And the second degree, the fourth degree, and the seventh degree of B flat major couldn't serve as linking point, as common chord, because you see the difference between chords. C minor, because of E flat that the chord contains, the C minor is not a member of F major. In the same way, C major, because of the E natural that the chord contains, the chord is not a member of B flat major, and so those chords couldn't serve as common chord. This is another example of modulation. This time we want to modulate from B flat major to C minor. In this case, we couldn't use the first degree, the third degree, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh degree as common chords because those chords are not members of the goal key. For example, F major, because of the A natural that the chord contains, is not a diatonic, a usual member of C minor. If we think about melodic, ascending melodic minor scale, okay, we can find that chord there, but it is not usual. The usual one is F minor as fourth degree of C minor. Likewise, the B flat major could be a diatonic chord actually in C minor. This is the uppercase 7, the major 7, if you consider the natural minor scale, but it is not a usual common chord. The usual 7th degree of C minor is B diminished. This is an example of this kind of modulation. Let's listen to it. The passage starts in B flat major and ends in C minor. We can understand that if we look at the last two chords, which contains which contains the G major, and then we can assume that this is a dominant seventh because of the F here, and then the tonic chord. And there's a point where the modulation happens. If you say it could be maybe at that point, this is a C minor chord, it is the second degree of B flat major, and the tonic chord of C minor. It is too late because we already saw here a B natural. The common chord should not be placed too late, also not too early. It should be placed right before the chord that doesn't belong to the initial key. In our case, this is the chord which we couldn't label in the initial key anymore and go one step back. This should be the common chord. How to analyze a common chord modulation? There is a two-step method. Locate the chord that does not diatonically belong to the first key and then back up one chord from this chord. That means go one step back. In our example, that was the chord because of B natural. We couldn't label that in our initial key, in the first key, in B flat major, and we should go one step back. And if this is a common chord modulation, there is also another kinds of modulation. If this is a common chord modulation, that chord should be the common chord. And you can see that in the analysis, the second degree of B flat major is the first degree of C minor. And this is how we show modulations, how Stefan Koska showed the modulations. You do something like that. You finish one progress and you open another one. And after that, each degree that we write belongs to the new key. Let's listen to it once again. Let's take a look at these two modulations. Both are the same actually, both modulates from G major to F major. Also the second one from G major to F major. The difference is the duration, the length is different. Let's listen to them. The first one first. And the second one. If I ask which one do you find more satisfying, more convincing, I'm sure all of you would say the second one because of the length, because we spent more time in the new key. We spent the entire two measures in the new key. But in the first one, the transition is too abrupt and it is not convincing. Let's listen to the first one again. The reason is partly that we take the dominant chord as common chord and then right after that go to the first degree. That makes the situation unconvincing. In the second one, the situation is the same, but with a difference. After dominant chord, we don't go directly to the first degree. We make a deceptive progression and then the entire cadential progression, and the usage of cadential 6/4 is very important. Through the usage of this cadential 6/4, we are more convinced that we are in F major. So the modulation is more satisfying. Let's listen to the second one once again. This excerpt contains a modulation from C major to G major, as you can understand from this F sharp and the dominant 7th chord in the penultimate measure. Let's listen to it and try to find the point of modulation. The first step was locate the chord that doesn't belong to the initial key. And if you look at the notes, there are no chromatic tone in the first 4 measure, and in the 5th measure we see an F sharp and then G sharp and etc. That means this chord doesn't belong to the initial key, to the C major. It is a part of the next key. The second step was go one step back, and I make an emphasis on if, because there are also other types of modulation. If this is a common chord modulation, this chord should be the common chord. This is the analysis of the passage. The first degree of C major is also the 4th degree of G major, so we can use that chord as common chord. If you take a look at the Roman numerals, you will notice a progression that doesn't fit to the harmonic progression rules, and this is 2 after 7. But if you look at the bass position of the chord, it is in the first inversion, and if you remember, we can use the first inversion chords as passing chords without their actual functionality. Through the inversion, they lose the weight of their actual functionality. Let's listen to it again. This is another example. Let's listen to it. And in this passage we have a modulation from D minor to F major. This case could be a little confusing because some chords could belong both to D minor and F major. But remember, the uppercase 7, major 4, etc., those chords are not usual members of minor case. And if we consider this knowledge, we will notice that this chord, the uppercase 7, is not a usual part of the D minor. It belongs to the next key. It is 5 of F major. And if we go one step back, we will find the B flat major chord. And this is the analysis. The 6th degree of D minor is also the 4th degree of F major. And at that point happens the modulation. Let's listen to it again. As a last example, I want to talk about this string quartet excerpt. Let's listen to it. In this excerpt, there's a modulation from E flat major at the beginning to G minor. We can understand that if we look at the changed accidentals and the dominant 7th chord in the penultimate measure. And if we search for non-diatonic tones, we will notice that the first non-diatonic tone is that one, the A natural in the penultimate measure, and this is a part of dominant 7th chord here, the dominant 7th chord. Then if we go one step back, and only if this is a common chord modulation, this should be the common chord. This is the analysis of the excerpt, and we see that the 6th degree of E flat major, which is C minor chord, is at the same time the 4th degree of G minor, and at that point the modulation happens. Let's listen to it once again. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.